everyone, my name is Alicea. Welcome to my channel where I share stories all about my life, traveling, and whatever else comes to mind. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a story time. So it's actually not a super happy story time, but yes, it does have a happy ending. And this story is all about why I needed an open surgery. And I'm going to really dive in and just give you guys all the details. I wanted to share my story in hopes that it would inspire someone, because when I did a lot of research on the medical condition that I had, I couldn't really find a lot of specifics and I didn't really get a lot of answers. And so it's my hope that my story will help you through whatever you're going through, or if you just want to learn more about what happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it. So I actually had to have a surgery in April of 2020. I had to have dermoid cysts on my ovaries removed. And you may or may not know what a cyst is on your ovaries. I actually didn't know much about them until I was diagnosed with one. But before I go into the surgery, I actually have to back up a bit and go to my early childhood, actually. So I used to do a lot of dancing. I was very active as a teenager. And whenever we would have to do like leaps across the floor or like jumps up and down, then I would feel this sharp, intense pain in the left side of my abdomen. And it would stop if I stopped jumping or whatever I was doing. It would subside within a few seconds. So I've been learning to work around this pain for quite a long time. And because I was so young, I don't think the thought ever came to mind, hey, you know, it never really got brought up to the doctor, just because it went away when I would stop doing what it was. So it wasn't always top of my mind, and it didn't cause me like a whole lot of pain, except when, you know, I was jumping around too much or doing too much physical activity. And I knew if I just slowed down or slowed the way or changed the way that I did whatever movement, I would be okay. So I learned to work around it. So fast forward to me being pregnant, and I believe I was about 14 weeks at the time, and I was sitting at my then job. I was sitting down and I felt the worst lower back pain that I've ever felt in my life. And then I started feeling these sharp pains in my abdomen. And so of course, I'm 14 weeks pregnant, I'm feeling abdominal pain. You know, I'm afraid, what's going on? Is there something wrong with the baby or something wrong with me? So I rushed straight to the ER, and basically I kind of just got written off. And they did an ultrasound, and they didn't even realize that there was two cysts on my ovaries. I was not happy with the care that I received in that ER, so I didn't go back there. And I felt like I was completely written off. And that's happened to me a lot of times when receiving medical care, and it's really difficult to have to continuously advocate for yourself, especially when you're in a lot of pain and you're not getting answered. And because I was pregnant, I was just getting written off. I remember one lady told me, I was like, you know, I'm experiencing pain, whatever. She's like, oh baby, that's just what'll happen. You know, because I'm younger, at the time when I was pregnant, how old was I? I was 21 going on 22. Because I was younger, I feel like a lot of times people were just writing me off. And then being pregnant on top of that, people were like, oh, that's just growing pains. That's just part of being pregnant. No, it wasn't. I try to stay very in tune with my body. So when I feel something or there's a change, I'm always tapping into that. So I didn't appreciate being written off. It was very, very difficult to continuously be written off. So I ended up feeling the pain again. Pain was so bad, I would be crawling around on the floor. It was just sometimes you can be in so much pain that you can't even sit still. No position makes you feel comfortable. So I ended up going to a different hospital. I went to a different ER, and then they did an ultrasound, and that's when I found out that I had a cyst. But at the time, they were saying there was only one cyst about 3 centimeters on my ovaries, and they were just saying that it was a regular fluid-filled cyst. And usually those cysts go away on their own, but because I was pregnant, they wanted to continue to monitor it, said that there was nothing that they could do. And so I was just kind of out of luck. I couldn't take anything, I couldn't really do anything. They were like, take a warm bath, you know, or something to help the pain go away. And so at the time, let it be noted that at around 14, 16 weeks, according to my doctor, they should have been able to see my ovaries and have full view of my ovaries to see what was going on. And I did not have a fluid-filled cyst. I ended up getting diagnosed with a dermoid cyst. And dermoid cysts are not fluid-filled. They're basically benign tumors, and they're congenital. So from the moment that you are born, they are there with you. So I've always had these cysts on my ovaries, but they're slow growing. They take years to grow. So for some people, they don't grow to a point where there's a cause for concern, or they might have them their whole life and not even realize it. But for me, mine grew and caused me a lot of pain. So I went through my pregnancy. They kept doing ultrasounds to monitor the cyst to make sure that, you know, it wasn't becoming anything else. And they had told me the cyst was shrinking, and it had like gone down to maybe about 1 centimeter, I believe. And so, you know, my labor was, I promise you, was 10 times as harder because of the cyst pain, and the baby was pressing down on it. Again, they did not know how large they were. So I went to my 6-week follow-up appointment after I delivered, and the nurse practitioner was like, oh, everything's good, you're all good to go. And I said, what about the cyst? And she looks at my file, she goes, oh, we'll order you an ultrasound, and walks out the room. If I hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have gotten the answers that I needed, and it's possible I could still be sitting here just dealing with this pain. So they did another ultrasound, and you know, the doctor always tells you, they always say, if you hear from us, then you need to be worried. But if you don't hear from us, everything's okay. I hate that. I got a call from my doctor, and I was very nervous. And because of like scheduling issues, it was like, it took me about a month or two to get a doctor's appointment. Anyways, I ended up having a virtual appointment with my doctor, and she said, you have what's called a dermoid cyst. And she explained what it was, and that it does not go away on its own. And she said, we believe you have one on your right ovary. That's 9 centimeters. That's about the size of a baby's head when you're giving birth. And then she said, you do also have a cyst on your left ovary, but we're not sure if it's a dermoid cyst or a fluid-filled cyst. She said, here are your options. Do nothing, which they always give you the option. Get an MRI to confirm everything that we're seeing. Get an MRI to confirm everything we're seeing, or just say, open me up and let's go ahead and do surgery. But if you have cysts on your ovaries, most of the time they will try to do a more non-invasive surgery called a laparoscopy, where they basically make small incisions, one through your navel and then one on either side of the ovary that they're operating on, and they'll use like a little tiny camera, and the recovery time for that is only a week. So it's not like a major surgery. Granted, it is a surgery, it requires recovery time, but it takes about a week for you to start feeling like yourself. Minimally invasive. So me being the person that I am, it had a really hard time accepting that I was gonna have surgery. I just went through the whirlwind pregnancy, and now I have to deal with a pending surgery. So I said, do the MRI. I want to confirm exactly what's going on. So the MRI results came back, and it showed even more than what the ultrasound did. I had a 9.5 centimeter dermoid cyst on my right ovary. I had a 6.5 centimeter cyst on my left ovary, and the size of that was so big that it was pressing down on my bladder. So my doctor was like, you might start to feel pregnant again, and you might have to pee a lot. And it was shifting my uterus over to the right. So now this foreign thing in my body is shifting my organs around. That did not sit right with me at all. But I still had some reservations about just saying, open me up. So I tried to be a little bit more natural, a little bit more holistic when I can. So I consulted with a more holistic OBGYN And she said, how big are they? And I said, 9.5 centimeters, 6.5 centimeters. She said, no, you have to get those taken out or they could implant themselves into your bowels. After she said that, the conversation was done. I didn't need to hear more. I called my doctor and said, I'm gonna do surgery. And so I was still nervous. I was still very, very nervous. But I knew at that point that what I needed more than anything, even though there was fear, so much fear surrounding getting the surgery, I needed to have quality of life. My doctor had told me that because of the kind of cyst that I had, they would like to start out with the minimally invasive surgery. Again, that takes a week recovery time, called the laparoscopy. But they would most likely have to open me up and do a laparotomy, which is basically like a C-section incision on your abdomen so they can see everything. I also forgot to mention at that point, I actually had to get a screening for ovarian cancer, and I did not tell anyone about that because I didn't want to put any negative energy or thoughts surrounding that. And thankfully, there was no cancer. My doctor said because of the size of the cyst, I didn't just want to leave them there because I could get ovarian torsion when your ovaries twist on themselves and the blood supply to your ovaries is gone, basically is dead, and it could cause problems, and you have to have emergency surgery to get one or both ovaries removed at that point in most cases. And so basically, yeah, I could have sat there and done nothing, but I would not have had high quality of life. I couldn't even go to the grocery store and walk for 5 minutes without feeling pain. After I gave birth, I would be in pain so much. I'd be writhing on the floor and I would be vomiting just from the pain, just terror. It was awful. And I couldn't exercise, and I realized I can't live like this anymore, and I want quality. I need quality of life. So I decided to get the surgery, and I ended up having it April of 2021. I was told by my doctor that there was a risk that I could lose the right ovary. She said she would do her best to save it, and that caused a lot of anxiety for me. She said, worst case scenario, we can't save your right ovary, and we only operate a little bit and leave some of the cyst on your left ovary behind if we don't think we can remove it successfully. And so I went into the surgery not really knowing whether or not I was gonna have an ovary. And I know you can live and survive without an ovary, but I just like all of my organs to stay in place. I'm sure you do too. So the days leading up to surgery, I was under the impression I could have someone with me. I spoke with patient advocates, I spoke with my doctor. They all said you can have someone with you, and I thought that would be a no-brainer, especially because it was an inpatient surgery. When I went to pre-op the day before, I was told, oh, you can't have anyone with you. And I said, wait, what? I went through talking to so many people and so many calls, and nobody had their answer straight. But I couldn't have anybody there with me. And finding that out the night before my surgery was very difficult. At that point, I had already given birth and wasn't allowed to have any of my family there except my partner, and deal with basically going through delivery without some of the people who meant the most to me. Thankfully, I was able to have one person there with me, but as a Black woman going through a gynecological surgery and being told that I can't have anybody there with me, that was a very scary thought. And at that point, I had no other option but to go at it alone. I could have canceled surgery, but I was in a lot of pain and my body was at risk. So the day of surgery was very, very scary for me. I was very anxious. Thinking about having surgery sometimes, I would want to pass out just thinking about it. But I knew on the other side of having that surgery was quality of life for me. And that was very, very important. So the day of surgery, I go in, and the first thing the nurse says is take off all your clothes. Like, it's just boom. As soon as you get past those double doors, it's time to go. And so, you know, I had to change into the gown, do the whole pre-op routine. And then she tells me to sign a paper. And it says, your surgery is an exploratory laparoscopy / laparotomy. Now, if you'll remember, I told the doctor and had already signed a consent form saying, no, I'm only doing a laparotomy. So you can only imagine my shock and fear and worry when that happened. Thankfully, the doctor came in and cleared it up. That's why before you get a surgery, you have to make sure that the surgery you're supposed to be having is very clearly written out, typed out, whatever, because you do not want to get the wrong surgery. So anyways, I had the option to get an abdominal tap, which is almost like an epidural, but for your abdomen, to assist with the pain and recovery after waking up for the first few days. So I did opt in to have that because pain levels were going to be high. I was being opened up. It came time for surgery. They gave me some medicine through my IV so that I could feel, you know, nice and calm. I had not even expected to see the OR. Like, I did not expect that at all. So that made me even more nervous. But by the time they brought me back to the OR, I was already basically gone. But the last thing I remember was feeling like I was suffocating. And I know that's such a weird thing, but I ended up asking them after I woke up, and they said that was probably them putting oxygen on me. But I remember waking up in the recovery room, and the first thing that I thought was, I'm alive. And it felt so great just to be on the other side, even though I still had to deal with recovery, which is its own thing, more pain. I just felt so grateful. Like I said, this story does have a happy ending, but it didn't stop being scary for a little while. So they take me back to the room that I'm going to be staying in overnight. And, you know, the nurse comes in, she introduces herself to me. And after you have any type of surgery, you have to be able to go to the bathroom so that you can go home. That is a must. So that's one of the first things they wanted me to do. Of course, I didn't feel like it. So I got up, I'm holding on to my IV pole. I go to the bathroom. It's so hard to stand up, sit down, the whole thing. And the nurse is there. Let that be noted. I'm standing up from the toilet. And next thing I know, I'm on the ground, blacked out. And I hear yelling and screaming and people rushing into the room. And I remember two men come and pick me up. And I just remember feeling so embarrassed, like I just passed out. I just passed out on the toilet. I felt so embarrassed. And they asked me what my name is, where I am. Mind you, there's lots of people in the room, but y'all, I hit the floor again. Boom. And it felt like I was in the sunken place. That's the only way that I could describe it, so you all can understand what I was feeling. The sunken place. But also, how did I fall twice with that many people, that many staff? I don't know. I don't know what happened. There was lots of people in the room, but I heard in the distance someone say CPR. And I said, oh, no. And I, boom, jumped back. Because I was like, there is absolutely no way. I do not know what's happening. I don't know if I misheard what someone said. I don't know if someone was just speculating. There was lots of people in the room. They were checking my vitals. No, I am here. Thank you. So they pick me up off the floor and put me in the bed, and they start doing an EKG, and that's when I start to feel nervous because I did not know what was happening. I was hoping that it was okay. Like, I just had surgery. I fall on the floor. Did I burst my incision? What is going on? So at the end of the day, I got two different answers. My actual doctor told me, and she kind of wrote it off, and this was me asking her at a follow-up appointment, oh, the anesthesiologist didn't give you enough fluids. But while I was at the hospital, the resident came in and she said that they thought it could be due to a reaction to the pain meds they were giving me because my blood pressure dropped. And I had to ask them to call my emergency contact to let them know what was going on, because I might not be understanding what's happening. I might not be comprehending everything. You know, I think I am, and gratefully I was. But if something else happens, my emergency contact needs to know what's going on. And so my mom and my partner were the ones that they called to let them know what was going on. And eventually I ended up being fine. And I ended up calling them, and my partner was so upset because he was like, if I was there, there's no way I would have let you fall. Why did the nurse not help you up? Why did the nurse not make sure you're okay? And I 100% agree with him. If someone has just had surgery, you need to have two people assisting me in lifting me up. And you can't, I don't care what my age is or anything else like that, you do not know what's gonna happen. I've been under anesthesia. So that was really hard for me and frustrating to deal with and embarrassing. Now I can laugh about it. That was one of my low moments, literally, ass out on a hospital bathroom floor. Recovery was a very rough journey for me. I was, of course, in a lot of pain. I had to wear an abdominal binder, and that did help. And anytime I would cough or like breathe in, it would feel like my insides were exploding. I like to laugh all the time. So I had to stop myself from laughing, and it's my own jokes that I'm laughing at most of the time. So I had to really control it and stay serious. However, those first few days were extremely depressing. I didn't feel like myself. I could not pick up my baby, who at the time was about almost 6 months old. That really, really was difficult. For the first few days, I couldn't really move enough to like bathe myself. It was really very difficult for me. I stayed in bed for about the first week, and then I started walking around more. And I was in a lot of pain. I ended up having to go back to my doctor because the pain meds they gave me the first time were not working, and so recovery just wasn't smooth. But like I said, at least I had the surgery done, so for me that was half the battle. After that 6 weeks, yes, I still did experience pain. And you know, they say it takes up to a year after surgery for your body on the inside to fully recover. Right afterwards, I went on vacation. My best friend was having a graduation party in Destin, Florida, and then I took myself to Disney World to celebrate a huge accomplishment. And of course, that was getting through the surgery and getting to the other side. I did have to have a follow-up from residual pain a few months ago, and I think honestly that was just my body still healing. And your ovaries can experience pain in alignment with like when your cycle is. So I am doing so much better, you guys. I can finally exercise again. I'm so excited about that. I've been loving that because I like to be an active person. So not getting to be active the way that I wanted to for 2 to 3 years, that's been very difficult for me. So life is so much better, and I've just been on the move, on the run as much as possible. But also I do like to relax. So I like to have balance. You know, I can clearly go to the grocery store now with no pain. I'm doing so much better, and I am so happy that I got my surgery, and I'm so happy that I had a doctor that I could trust. There were bumps in the roads with the staff, the medical teams, and other personnel along the way. But it is so important that you have a doctor that you can trust and that you can communicate with. And I'm so glad that I made it to the other side. If you all have any questions about the surgery or my condition, feel free to ask it in the comments. I'll either reply to it or I might even do a follow-up video. I hope that this video has inspired you or informed you in some way. And if you're dealing with any upcoming surgery, any impending, anything, I just wanted to let you all know that it's going to be okay. You'll get through it. And your quality of life is the most important. If you're dealing with any upcoming surgeries or any health issues, I just wanted to encourage you that it's going to be okay. Your quality of life is the most important. So whatever you need to do to have a high quality of life, then do it. And that's the choice that you have to make for yourself. Thank you all so much for watching my video. I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Bye.